Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today. My name is Rebecca, and I will be your reflective art facilitator this afternoon. We have a few more trickling in. So take your time to get situated, get settled. Let us know if you have any trouble seeing myself or the interpreter. I hope y'all are having a good day so far. Welcome in to those of you I missed in the chat. Thank you for being here with us today. Again, my name is Rebecca. I'll be facilitating our reflective art this afternoon. Feel free to take a few moments to gather whatever you need. If you need something to mark with and mark on, um, as long as it can make a mark and it can be marked on without being destroyed, it works for what we have going on today. I'm going to go ahead and put our reflective art group norms in the chat. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds and then I'm going to go over these. Feel free to follow along as I do. I do want to let y'all know first and foremost that these sessions are recorded so that we can share them at a later date. Just note that at the end of the session that we have today, or each time that we do reflective art, we'll open it up for y'all to share. Just know that we will edit that out. Those are confidential times for us to share among the group that is here with us and present today. You will want to make sure that you use reactions. So you can use the raise hand feature if you'd like to speak or share something. And that way we can spotlight you and everyone is able to view you along with the interpreter. Also, please feel free to share your art if you feel like you are led or you feel open to sharing your art after a session. Please feel free to share that within the hashtag wellness channel on Slack. And then whenever we are discussing our art, one thing that we like to keep as a mainstay is to use non-evaluative language. So what that means is non-judgmental on any level, even if that feels like a positive judgment. So we want to refrain from things like, oh, that's beautiful, or I love the colors, or even saying a neutral comment like, that looks like a fluffy cloud to me. Maybe that wasn't meant to be a fluffy cloud to that person, or it changes the experience the individual was having. So it's just a good practice to leave each experience to each individual perspective. And then again, this is a confidential environment, so everything that's said here should stay here, even after our reflective art session is over. And at the end of the day, just trust the process. Um, this is a really good practice for getting to be more comfortable, getting to know your intuition a little bit better. And whatever comes up, even if it feels off. It's going to feel off because it's new to you sometimes. It's very common for it to feel off, but just trust yourself, trust your intuition. Even if that means that you sit here and at the end you have a blank piece of paper, that was what you needed to experience and allow yourself to trust your intuition through this process. There's no right or wrong way to experience intuitive art or reflective art. It is whatever your intuition leads you towards during this practice. And that's what matters most, is that you trust yourself and you trust the process. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. You'll see the timer as we move through. Don't let that stress you out. That's just a guide so I don't get lost and bunny trail off and we're here 2 hours later. So first, I'd like for us to just take a moment whenever you feel comfortable to turn our attention inwards. If it feels safe to you, feel free to soften your gaze and take a deep, slow breath whenever you're ready. If it feels right to you, hold that inhale at the top and let it go. I encourage you to take a moment to scan your body. Notice how that breath affected your body. Do you feel any tingles in your arms? Does your head, does your mind, does your body feel any different after that breath? As you consider how that breath affected your body and your mind, I encourage you to take a moment to evaluate your overall well-being, your emotional well-being, your physical well-being. Notice the sensations in your extremities. Maybe even take a moment to reflect on how you've been feeling today. Does anything stand out to you? As you reflect on these experiences, these sensations, these emotions, if you could connect any one of these overarching or most obvious sensations or feelings you've experienced to a weather pattern, what type of weather would you connect it with first? What pops in your mind first and foremost when you think of your internal temperature, the weather around your emotions and your physical well-being today? Would it feel cloudy and heavy? Rainy and slow, maybe a few puddles, clear and alert? A combination. Maybe it's weather that is not common. You've never even heard of the combination of weather that you feel inside of you today. Just take a moment to consider it. Is this a new concept to you? Have you placed your emotions or your internal gauge with weather before? Maybe nothing's coming to mind and it just feels like a confusing concept, and that's okay too. But I would encourage you, if it feels right, to just take a moment to notice without judgment and quietly name your weather to yourself. Whatever comes up, welcome it, hold space for it. What I mean when I say without judgment, don't, I would encourage you to refrain from feeling any type of discouragement about the weather. I would just acknowledge it and back up and allow space for what you're feeling. Okay. And when you're ready, I'd like for us to start letting the weather that came to us take shape on whatever it is, your paper, your notebook, the envelope you grabbed off the countertop, your iPad, whatever you're using today. I would encourage you to start simple. So if your weather had a color, what color or colors do you feel connect to your internal forecast today? Let's start there and start allowing that to take shape. I'm going to reset the timer for us and I'll check back in about 10 minutes. Just popping back in to add one more prompt. If your weather had a shape, a line, or texture associated with it, what would it look like? I'm going to add this in the chat for you to reflect on as you go. Take it if it helps you, leave it if it doesn't. As we move through this session, I'd like for us to think about whether or not there are changes in our atmosphere as we work through this practice. So, do you notice if there are any shifts in how you're feeling as you work through this expression of your internal weather patterns today? And I know that is a very vague analogy, but just notice if you feel anything changing, if there's anything new that wants to be represented in your expression in your art today. Has the sun started to peek out behind the clouds? Has it not? Has it started to hide behind the clouds a little? I would just take a moment to notice and see whether that wants to be reflected anywhere on the page. I'd also like to mention that if this feels more like an experience that you can't really put down in shapes and textures and colors, please feel free to use words. Even if it's not writing out a whole journal entry, maybe there are just words that are popping up really, really loudly internally for you right now. Maybe it's words and colors, colorful words you'd like to build on top of each other. Please feel free to think way outside the box, whatever that looks like for you. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I'll check back in a few moments. As we begin to wrap up a little bit today, I'd like for us to take a moment to view what we have or haven't created to consider this time. If you have an expression that comes out in shapes and colors on your page, I would invite you to just take a moment to reflect on what you've created and what you've experienced today that contributed to this creation. Um, you might ask yourself, what helped create this weather dynamic inside of me today? Were there people who came alongside me and provided support and contributed to a shift in what this experience, what this day has turned out to be, what my internal forecast looks like? Are there clouds of worry, pressure, exhaustion? Maybe there are physical sensations that have lingered in, like fog or gusts of wind. I would invite you to take a moment to notice if there are any elements that both challenge and support you, um, that influence your inner landscape of what your experience is internally today and every day. There's no need to feel like you need to fix anything. And just take a moment to bring a gentle awareness to what's present within. If you feel inspired, please feel free to jot down what you've noticed as you review your page, whether it's words, whether this was an internal experience. If it feels right to you, please feel free to take a few moments to jot down what you noticed most about this experience today. I invite you, I welcome you to revisit this later today. Maybe check back in this evening, see how your weather landscape is looking. Has anything shifted? I would encourage you to use this as an opportunity to get to know yourself a little bit better, understand your internal temperature, your different correlations to the experiences you have throughout the day, and begin to notice what it feels like when things shift inside of you and what to connect those experiences to externally.